Hi there. Welcome to the Freezerworks 2022 Learning Series, your visual guide to our sample management software. Today we will continue our deep dive into the exciting brand new feature, pooling. In pooling part 1, we created a pooling workflow, processed it, and took a quick look at what a pooled sample is like in Freezerworks. In this video, we will discuss how to search for pooled samples and their source aliquots on the web client, including a new form of saved searches specially designed for finding pooled samples. We will also go into detail about viewing pooling data through two new samples entry form pages, Pool Details and Pools. Finding pooled samples and source aliquots is actually quite simple through the use of two new system true-false fields, the aliquots field in pool and the samples field pooled sample. These fields can be used in all types of searches to find both aliquots that were used to make pooled samples and the pooled samples themselves. If I just want to pull up all pooled samples in my database, I can run a search for samples where pooled sample is equal to true. I can then use the filter tools to cut my list down to just samples that came from a specific facility or had a specific test result. The same can be done for source aliquots. I can pull up all aliquots that are involved in pools by searching for aliquots where in pool is equal to true. I can then filter the list down to just source aliquots that are in a specific freezer or have a specific amount left. Again, these fields will be usable throughout the program to make finding pooled data very simple. However, there is an extra feature we added to save searches to make searching for pooled samples more robust. If you set the Return Records In dropdown to Pooled Samples, two tabs will appear on the search form, Pooled Sample Criteria and Source Aliquots Criteria. First, using the Pooled Sample Criteria tab, you determine what attributes of pooled samples themselves you are looking for. The date it was pooled, the initial volume pooled, the number of sources, which group is the owner, etc. Next, you determine what attributes you're looking for in the source aliquots that created the desired pooled samples, since source aliquots have their own separate data and origin samples, which will probably factor into your search. For example, what is the type of aliquot? What facility was its sample originally collected at? Who was the doctor that collected it? How much volume did it have to start? Etc. Essentially, you're taking two distinct searches and combining them to find pooled samples that match all criteria. An example of a pooled sample search might be, I want pooled samples pooled in the last 20 days that come from source aliquots collected at the Emerald City University of type nasal swab. It should also be noted that both tabs need to have an expression in order to run the search. Let's run our search now and open a pooled sample. As I mentioned in part 1, all pooled samples will have a new page, Pool Details. This page includes data points for the pooled sample, initial volume pooled, and date pooled, but most importantly, it lists all source aliquots that were combined to create the pooled sample. The list will also display metadata for each source aliquot, based on the selected list view format, just like the inventory list view. If you'd like to trace an aliquot back to its origin sample or patient, highlight the desired aliquot and choose the desired action. You can open the aliquot's patient or sample, or open it in the inventory list view to quickly see everything related to the source aliquot. If you highlight a selection of the source aliquots and select View Aliquots in List View again, you will open all selected aliquots in the inventory list view, making it very easy to trace all patients and samples that went into making the pooled sample. Not to mention, the inventory list view gives you access to all the tools Freezerworks has to offer. Let's go back to the Pool Details page and open a source aliquot's origin sample to see another pooling related page you will come across. If a sample has aliquots that are sources for other pooled samples, the Pools page will appear. This page will display each source aliquot that comes from the sample you have open. The source aliquots are identifiable by their unique aliquot IDs by default, but you can switch the display field if you'd like with this dropdown. Click a source aliquot in the list to see each pooled sample it is a part of. Alternatively, you can use the Expand All and Collapse All buttons to affect everything in the list. By default, the pooled samples are identifiable by their Freezerworks IDs. But again, you can easily change the display field. Select a pooled sample in the list, and its details will display on the right. If you click the Open Sample button at the bottom of the Details box, its entry form will open. As you can see, traceability exists in both directions. And that about does it for pooling in the Freezerworks Web Client. Please note that everything discussed today exists in the desktop client too. You can learn how to search for and view pooling data there in Part 2. But know that these tools function nearly identically in both clients. If you have any questions, consult our user's guide or contact Freezerworks support staff. As always, thank you for watching and see you next time.